So thank you so much, Upday, for inviting me to speak today and to kind of give you some skills to help you navigate not only this present situation, but life. So a little bit about my background is I'm a psychotherapist. I live in London, but as you can tell probably by my accent, I've spent most of my life in the United States. I was born here, and I came back 10 years ago. So I'm a psychotherapist, but I've woven in mindfulness and yoga into my practice as a psychotherapist, because I felt like there was more to therapy than just talking. Talking is very important. Obviously, it's hugely important. There's a great benefit, but I wanted to bring other things into my practice. So I do actually less talk therapy now than I do more somatic or physical therapy using the body and mindfulness and meditation. So thank you, Bruno, for inviting me. I'm here in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Week. It's actually, I find out it's a month as well. So we have a month and a week. May is the month. And every year it has a theme, and the theme this year is nature, which I think is perfect. We need, it's kind of makes us happy when we even say the word nature. So my meditation that we'll be doing at the latter part of this session will be around nature. So what does mindfulness have to do with mental health? What I found is my biggest stress, and I think for most of us that affects our mental health, is stress. Stress from living a fast-paced life, stress from just trying to live day to day, money, financial stress. I can give you a list. But the biggest stressor that I've found in my life and as a therapist is our thinking is what gets in our way. So we overthink. I didn't bring my brain. I usually bring my brain I have a model of a brain to show you, but so our brain gets in our way. And the reason is because we think so much. We're thinking constantly. So just a little statistics just to throw at you. We think about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a huge gap, right? But it depends on the day. Some days you're probably saying, I even think more than 60,000. Depending on what's happening. That's a huge amount of thinking. And most of those thoughts, 80% of them are negative, which I thought, this is unbelievable. 80%, which isn't unbelievable, because when I pay attention to my thoughts, lots of them are negative. And most of them, I think it was like 95%, are the same repetitive thoughts. So you're repeating thoughts over and over again. And so you can imagine how that affects us, our mental health. And if you're always in your head, you it reduces your ability to be able to kind of cope with stress, to be able to manage your life in a more relaxed way. So what are we doing today is I'm going to teach you how to be present. What presence feels like. You most likely will struggle at times. Your mind will wander off. You'll start thinking about what's going to happen next. You might be listening to me but not listening to me. You might be thinking as you're listening to me. This is all normal and natural. This is what happens. But the more we practice presence with this, and I'll show you, I'll give you those 3 skills. The better we feel, the less tense our body becomes, we think less. Our thoughts actually become, we go from 60,000, let's say, we might reduce to 10,000. Or, you know, we want to reduce the amount of thoughts, plus the quality of the thoughts. From negative, less negative to a little bit more kind of neutral thoughts. They don't even have to be positive. So that's what we'll be doing today. And this affects how we feel, how we go through our days. So the first thing I'm going to be teaching you is breathing. So there's 3 skills I'll be teaching you today. One is breath, one is stretch, and one is mindful meditation. So sitting in stillness. And the first step, the first way we can begin to explore presence, stillness, push the pause button is by breathing, right? So you think, well, okay, I breathe all the time. I don't have to think about it. I'm talking about conscious breathing, where you actually pay attention to the breath. Because that, as soon as you pay attention to your breath, you immediately move into, you transition into the present moment. Just without even trying. That's just how it happens. So what I want you to do, we're going to do an experiment. I want you to take one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. And just breathe as you're breathing. You don't have to do anything but just breathe. And then I want you to notice which hand moves more than the other. Now, is it the top hand? Is it the bottom hand? Is it both? And you'll answer that to yourself. It's an awareness tool. So if you're noticing your hand, top hand, your one on your chest is moving, you're more of your chest breathing. And if the hand at the bottom, it's more diaphragmatic breathing. And if both are moving, that's an all-body breath. So most of us, we spend much of the day breathing into our chest, more than our bellies, even though you think you might be. Because we're talking, we're working, we're moving, we're thinking. And as soon as you start doing all that, you actually your breathing moves from the diaphragm and you start using your chest muscles, which are not meant actually to be used all the time. So we need to take the breath deeper and actually eventually work on having both move together. So we're going to do a breathing exercise. And you can take your hands and place it on your belly if you like, or on your lap. I'm sitting in a cross-legged, but obviously you're sitting in chairs, which is perfectly fine to do any of this on your chair. So what I want us to do is first find a nice tall spine and keep our feet flat on the ground. I should have mentioned that before as you were breathing. But place the feet flat on the ground and then take a hand onto the belly. And I want you to just feel the breath as you breathe in through the nose and how the belly expands outward. And then as you exhale, and the belly will draw inward. So there's this movement there's a rhythm of inhaling, breath moves out, and as you exhale, breathe in. So back and forth, breath, inhaling and exhaling. Now I feel my chest breathing because I happen to be a rib cage breather because of yoga, which is the best and most efficient way of breathing, but I don't want to go there. That's a whole nother class. And what you're doing here is you're feeling the breath move lower down. So you're doing diaphragmatic breathing, which is our primary muscles to breathe from. Those are the muscles we want to use most of the time. Those are the most efficient, and they also calm your nervous system down. So here we are. We're going to take a few little breaths. Now we're going to take the breath a little bit deeper. So I want you to first exhale completely. You can exhale through the mouth if you'd like, or through the nose, but inhale through the nose. Take an inhale, I'll count for you. 2, 3, 4, we'll do 4. Then I want you to hold just for a moment. And then exhale, 2, 3, 4. Just hold. And then inhale, 2, 3, 4. You can close your eyes. And exhaling, 2, 3, 4. Let's do 2 more sets. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And then exhale, 2, 3, 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. 4. And once you've completed that last set, just let your breathing return to its natural rhythm. In and out, just breathing naturally. So what I reckon, what this does is this turns on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxation response. Just by breathing, taking those 4 breaths. And I recommend every several hours, you take a break and you do 4 sets of those 4 breathing breaths. Because what that will do is it will take your nervous system and switch it off from the constant, always slightly on alert nervous system, which is what happens when you breathe from the chest. So that's the breathing. Breathing brings you into the moment by just watching the breath when you're aware and conscious. It also calms your nervous system down. Okay, so the second thing that we're going to do is stretching. That's the second skill. Sounds like, okay, this makes sense. But why is it so important for our, to help us de-stress and also take us out of our heads? One thing is when you're stretching and you breathe at the same time, you're out of your head for at least a few seconds or however long, a minute. And it gives your brain a break. It also calms the nervous system down. And the other thing it does is it takes the tension that you're holding in your body that starts to accumulate. And you're kind of, it's like taking a washcloth and squeezing out the water. That's the only way I can explain it. And this is why yoga to me has been so essential, and for me, my well-being. I'm an anxious person. I have an anxiety, I would say an anxiety disorder. I've had it my whole life. And this is hence why I'm doing this work. It makes sense, right? So I'm going to teach you 3 types of stretches you can do on your chair. Very simple. The first stretch is a cat and cow. And so your feet are flat on the ground. If you've done yoga, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you're like, what is a cat and cow? You're going to place your hands on your knees, and I'm going to just spin around so you can see the side version of this. And you're going to do, the first step is to lift the chest up and spread the collarbones. And then you're going to round the back and drop your chin towards your chest and feel that stretch in the entire length of the body, the back, the spine. And then you inhale, you open up the chest and spread your collarbones, let the shoulders drop. And we're going to do a few sets of these just to let you experience this. So rounding the back, this is the cat shape. And then inhaling the cow. The cow opens up, you're opening up the chest. And what we're doing is we're countering all this rounding that we do in our chairs over our computers. So if you did about, let's say, 10 sets of these cats and cows 3 times a day, you will feel a difference. Your spine, you'll be less likely to end up with back problems as well. So this is a nice stretch. So that's one of the stretches, the cat and cow moves that I recommend. The other one is a twist. So you sit the same position with your feet flat on the ground. Take your right hand on your left thigh, left hand on the seat of the chair. You can scoot your bottom towards the front of the chair so that your back isn't leaning towards the back. And then take your left hand on the back of the chair and on the seat, or even if you're on the back, but some of you have very high backs of the chairs. And then lift up tall, take a breath in, use your breath here to help you twist, and then twist. So what you're doing is you're taking your right hand and pressing it into your left thigh and twisting. And this is like that dish rag, that washcloth, squeezing out the tension, waking up that spine. And then soften the shoulders down, and then let's just spin to the other side. So left hand on the right thigh, right hand behind your back. And then take a breath in, and then you breathe out, twist. There's so many stretches I could teach you, but I have only so much time. And then you'll twist the other side and then come back to center. And I would hold it, each twist for about, if you could do 10 breaths, do 10 breaths or 5 breaths. one final one, which is my favorite, because we're rounding our shoulders all day, even if we do them subtly, this can be, I'll show you different versions of this, but I want you to bring your arms forward, okay, like you're holding something in a platter in your hands, and then cross your right arm under your left. So you're crossing right at the elbows, okay, and then take your arms and twist them, and grab hold of either place the palms together or the backs of the hands. If that doesn't work for you, just take your hands on top of your shoulders, okay? But if you can twist, or there's the other version where we've done this in gym class, at the gym, but otherwise twist, if you can twist, that's great, and then take a breath in and lift the elbows slightly up on an angle, and then bring the elbows in towards your belly. Drop your chin towards your chest. And this is a little cat and cow shape, right, we're making. And then lift your elbows back up. And then uncross your elbows. Open up the arms and feel, all of a sudden they feel like they're as light as feathers. You can fly away. And then lower the arms down. And we're going to do the other side, so just shake it out. And you can do, and always it's helpful to do some neck stretches. Reach the arms forward again, platter in your hands, and then take now the left arm, cross it onto the right, either at the elbows if you can, and twist, palms together, backs of the hands together, or hands on the shoulders, or you can slide that left hand down your left forearm. And then once you've settled here, elbows and shoulders are in line, bring your elbows in towards your belly, so you should feel the stretch in your upper back, chin towards chest. Let's inhale again, and let's lift up a little bit on a diagonal up towards the corner of the ceiling. And then take a breath in, and then lower the elbows down. And this is recorded, so if you don't know what I just did, you can't remember, I'll have it, it'll be a recording for you to keep. And then just let the shoulders drop down. Take a pause. So let's just do a few more, I want you to close the eyes if that's comfortable, or look to the ground with a soft gaze. And let's just take a few breaths in and out, feeling into how your body feels. And notice if there's added tension or there's tension in other parts of the body. If you're feeling it in your neck, always at any point feel free to drop your head to one side and then the other, so you can stretch out those neck muscles, and then come back and then lift the head up. Okay, so just take a moment. We're going to now transition into our meditation, and it's called Be the Mountain. My favorite meditation of all times, because it teaches you how to be still. It can be a long version, a 20-minute version. I've chosen the shorter version. It ties into the theme of nature, but it also helps us to learn how to sit as still and stable as a mountain. So again, reclose the eyes or look to the ground with a soft gaze. Find a tall spine if you haven't already. Scooting your bottom a little further forward. If you can't, you don't feel comfortable, then bring your bottom all the way to the back of the chair. But as long as your feet can touch the ground or resting on something. And I will take you through this mountain meditation. So just take the first few moments to breathe in and out. So follow that breath consciously. And taking a moment to ground and center yourself. So what that means is you're feeling your sit bones on the chair. You're feeling your feet on the ground. And centering is the breathing. It brings you into the moment. And then just be with your breath. And be with the sounds that you hear in the room, obviously my voice. and and feel the hands when they're resting on your thighs, what they feel like, the touch points. And then begin to visualize a majestic mountain. Excuse me, either one that you've seen or one that you create in your imagination. It can be alone or part of a mountain range. And as you imagine this mountain, begin to visualize what it looks like. Visualize the peaks. Are there one or two peaks? Visualize what time of the year it is. We can even start with spring. And noticing how this mountain is steady and stable, and that it's attached to the bedrock of the earth. So it doesn't just start on the surface of the earth. It goes deep down beyond the surface. So start to imagine your body becoming the mountain. So now you are the mountain. You're grounded, solid, still. And let the legs be the base. The arms and shoulders, the slopes. And the spine, the axis. And the head, the peak. Allow yourself to become centered, grounded, and present. And then visualize that mountain let's pick spring. What does your mountain look like in the spring? And in the spring, the snow's melting, the birds are singing, and animals are returning. And then we move on to another season, the autumn, when there's a warm light and there's brilliant colors. And then gradually autumn gives way to winter, and the mountain is assaulted with intense, violent weather. By fog, snow, ice. But notice how the mountain remains still, quiet and steady through all the storms. And that's, you are the mountain. And see the mountain through the course of a day. Beginning with the rosy hues of dawn, and then the clear light of morning, and the deep golden light and shadows of afternoon. The constant changing from day to night. And when the night comes, you see the stars and the galaxies. And through it all, you're the mountain. You sit in stillness. You're grounded through the changes of weather, seasons, day and night, accepting change, not resisting it. So take a moment here and feel that sense of steadiness that you visualize or experience from being the mountain. That no matter what happens in your life, no matter what is thrown at you, small, big, significant, insignificant, we can remain still and present. So when we're in the present moment, our mind doesn't go off on tangents. It stays still. When we breathe deeply, our mind follows the rhythm of the breath, so it stops and slows down. When we stretch tension out of our bodies, that too informs the brain that it doesn't need to be so active. So the three skills that help us to remain still is to breathe consciously, several times a day, four count breaths, just a recommendation. Second, stretching, moving the body, releasing the tension. And thirdly, sit in quiet, sit in stillness. Could be meditation. Meditation is sitting in stillness. Sitting, finding quiet. So these are the three skills that will make a huge difference in how you feel on all levels, but especially mentally. Your mental health will be you'll be healthier in all realms. So let's just gently start to find our way back into the room, back into our bodies, and start to follow the breath again as we complete this session. So when we complete a meditation, I always bring people back into the room with their eyes still closed, into their bodies. And then eventually they open their eyes. So when you're ready, let your eyes open. And then take another last pause. So pausing is so important in our lives. If it's stuck and we're on the fast forward button, you're going to stress out and burn out. Take pauses, take the time to be still and to be present. And when you're ready, we will complete the session. Thank you so much for being with me. I'm Rebecca Warrington. I didn't mention that before. My website is yogawithrebeccajane.com. I do run classes for corporates, but I also have my own individual classes that I teach. I teach some of my students come to me 5 days a week for 30-minute classes in the morning. And that's been going on since last March. So not that everybody needs to do that, but just to give you that. Otherwise, thank you so much. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for inviting me for this wonderful session.